let's talk about models and agents. As you all know, we have ChatGPT, we have Anthropic, which is also called Claude, and then Grok, and a whole bunch of other agents as well. And also, you can also decide to build your own custom agents. In order to build your own custom agent, which is what we did, if you do not have any of these files here, which are your agents, you can also decide to interact with VS Code default agent. Now, to do that, you click on this icon on the top right. Once you click on it, this section here is basically the chat section that you can be interacting. Think of it like you're interacting with ChatGPT. That is how this also looks. But what is different here is that now you have an agent, which is a built-in agent by VS Code. And you could also have access to the files of that agent as well. Here, you'll be able to specify the agent. If you click on here, you can type in anything you want. Now, let's familiarize ourselves with this interface. In this interface here, this is basically click on plus. You get to see this action if you want to open an editor, files, folder, instructions, screenshot, and any other interesting stuff you might see here. The next one is this section here. Clicking on this is going to ask you are currently in agent mode. You could also be in ask mode. The ask mode is more like you interacting or asking a question from the agent. The ask mode is going to allow you to is going to basically be a response. You ask a question, it's going to give you a response. Plan mode is mostly if you want to plan, you have a big or major task or a new feature, and you like to plan it out before it gets implemented. That's when you select plan. There's also an option here called configure custom agent. If you click on configure custom agent, you see this option here. Now you can either create a new custom agent, you can generate agent. Let's click on generate agent. Or alternatively, you can also click on it again. You could also create a new custom agent. Create a new custom agent. You see now it's asking you this option here. There is something called GitHub/agent that is going to that's the default, as you can see here, is a workspace only used by Copilot agent. Now, if you also want to set up your Claude agent, all you need to do is create a .claude/agent. This is a workspace only used by Claude agent. Now, the beautiful things about this text editor is it allows you to use GitHub code, the Copilot text editor. You could also use Claude in this editor as well. Now let's click on. You could also create a global agent, custom agent as well. This is going to create in a default environment. As you can see here, this is Claude global, only used by Claude agent. And for Copilot, you could also create a Copilot global agent as well. Or user data, this is global. It basically just runs with settings, sync, only used by VS Code. But in this case, let's just set up our Copilots. You could also set up your Claude. They basically work interchangeably. The only difference is this Claude agent, it will basically be your Claude model will be interacting with the Claude agent, while Copilot has arrays of model, including Claude as well, which is going to be interacting with. But in this case, we want to create it in our workspace. If you're creating it in global, it's going to create it at the root level of your computer. So basically, creating it at the root level, it means you have an agent that is working on your computer. It could basically do anything. It's going to have access to all the files or every single thing on your computer that you'll be giving it access. But if you're creating an agent in this workspace, let's choose that. Type the name of the file, the watcher. You watch over everything, or let's just call it brainstorm. Press enter to confirm your input. You click on it. You see, what does it do? It creates .github/agent. And this is what it does. Your GitHub, your Copilot agent, it stays here. And you see, it also creates a default configuration for you, which is the name is brainstorm. The description is describe what this custom agent does and when to use it. The argument in int is the input these agents expect, e.g., a task to implement or ask a question to answer. The tools is going to have access to VS Code, to execute, read, agent, edit, search, web, to do. Specifically, these two agents can use if not set or enable tools are allowed. Tips: this use these create agents in this chart to generate content with agent assistance. This is where you define what the custom agent does, including its behavior, capabilities, specific instruction, or it is for its operation. This is similar to the explanation that was given here in terms of the structure. The instruction goes here, which is the brain of your agent. Now, back to this. Here, as you can see, you just created a custom agent. Now, what I would advise you to do here is move all your files here, and you can move it down into your agent, your GitHub agent. Click on OK. Now it moves here. You can safely delete all of this. Move to trash. Now, let's see what's going to happen. Oh, this is in the wrong location. Okay, let's move this. The goal is to move it inside the agent. To do that, you click on Shift, click on the first file, click on the last file. Everything gets automatically selected. And you can drag and drop it inside agent. Once you do that, you click on Move, everything gets adjusted. Okay, let's proceed. Now that has been created. Now, as you can see, this is what we did here. We basically just configure our agent. After we move the files here, you can see now you have different agents. You have the brainstorming agent, you have the CEO, you have the code reviewer agent, you have the marketing team, you have the QA engineer, you have your research engineer, you have your software engineer. You could also create more custom agents. Here, if you want to make a change here, or you want to make a change here, excuse me, let's go back to this. Here, you could also select different agents of your choice. You could decide to select a code reviewer. You say it becomes code reviewer. If you select the CEO, you want to talk as a CEO. You put it right here. If you want to talk to the software engineer, you can communicate it directly. So think of this as you communicating with your staff as a CEO of the company, right? You could decide to communicate also if you want to communicate as a CEO or to the CEO to perform certain tasks. Or you assume, or let me use the right phrase here. You are assuming the responsibility of a QA engineer and you want a task to be done. That is the right phrase, not communicating with them. To communicate with all your sub-agents, that is what the CEO does. We've already explained that and we've walked through the structure, which is this here. So as your team, your agent CEO, you can communicate with your agent CEO and it passes the message across to the team. And that follows this nomenclature, which is you talk to the agent, and you get the result. In your case, your CEO is like the contractor at this point. And this is the agent that you can coordinate with. This is where you assume the role, but by default, it's going to be the agent. And this is where the custom role actually comes in. And that is this here. This is the default that you get, and this is the custom that you can build. We just build our own custom agent without relying on the default. Now let's proceed. You can communicate as a CEO. Now, as a CEO, you can also use different model. The model could also be specified in your agent, in your CEO agent config. Then to specify the model by default, is going to be in auto mode. Auto mode means it's going to be in auto. Based on what you input, it's going to determine which model is going to use. You need to be mindful of the model you are using, because the more model you use, you also consume token, and there's a price tag associated with it. The next thing we want to do is we need to now instruct our agent. But before we do that, let's continue familiarizing ourselves with this environment. Here is the model. In this model section, you can specify the model you like to use. You could also specify if you want Claude IQ 4.5 or Claude Sonnet 4.6 or GPT 5.5. If you're not seeing your model, you can decide to click on more models, other models, and you see the GPT-5 mini and other models here as well. And you can also click on this gear icon. Now this is going to open up the language models. Here you could decide to use any model of your choice. You can see the context size, the capabilities, the costs are associated with it. Also, if you cannot see the model you're looking for, you can decide to add one additional model here from Anthropic, Azure, Google, Olama, OpenAI, OpenRouter, XAI. You could also decide to have a custom endpoint as well. If you have your custom endpoint, you link it here and you have the model show up right here. For the sake of this explanation here, we are not going to be creating a custom endpoint. Now, here is basically where you tend to configure the tools, such as for the agent, you like the agent to be able to run the sub agent or the browser. In this case here, I will be enabling the browser. Why? Because I want the agent to be able to open and interact with integrated browser pages. So let's do that here. If you click on it, you see everything get automatically selected. You can also decide to cherry pick any of the capability you want the agent to have. But in our case here, we're going to select everything so you have access to interact with the browser. That is needed for the QA engineer. Also, for the edit, you want the agent to be able to edit files, execute commands. You want the agent to also be able to execute commands on your computer as well. Read, search, to do, VS Code. You want it to be able to use VS Code feature, and then also fetch information from the web. Fetching information from the web is quite different from the browser. Now, the difference here is that here it can interact with the browser if you are working on a local project. Now, working on a local project, you need to access the local host. Accessing the local host, it can easily do that. But the web, this is basically additional capability. It simply means you are giving your agent ability to search the web. Basically, you're free. You're free to access the internet. You are free to do some research, which is something the research engineer agent needs. Let's give it that. Now, with these tools, these are the tools that has been configured by the custom agent. Changes to these tools will be applied to the custom agent file as well. So these changes is going to be applied to the CEO custom agent. Let's click on OK. As you can see, you see that changes here. Now there's an increase. It has increased the capability of the CEO. But guess what? We don't want the CEO to be accessing the internet, do we? Because the CEO should be delegating the task to the marketing, to the research agent. But in this case, we're going to give an exception. We want the CEO to be able to do every single thing. Now let's also go to the research agent. In our research agent, you could also open the file. Don't forget to switch to the research engineer and let's us set it up. The research engineer should be able to access the web. You see, it has already been checked here. Should it be able to run sub agent? No, we don't want the research agent to be able to run sub agent. Should it be able to use the browser? Let's say yes. Let's give it that access. Also do not want the research engineer to be able to execute a task on the command. Its goal is to fetch information on the internet, also to do some searches, read documents, and then also edit files on the workspace. It should be able to give us a response to what it's able to see. Now let's click on OK. You can see here, everything here increases. Now let's also check this. Let's check the marketing. What capability do we want the marketing engineer to be to do? Marketing team, rather, excuse me. Here we can only see you can access the web and also to do, read, and search. That is enough. The code reviewer can access the web, use to do, read, search. The code reviewer also might also need to be able to, okay, that is fine. We've checked it, we checked the software, we checked this research engineer, QA engineer, marketing team, code reviewer, CEO. Brainstorm, we can decide to delete this. This was just an example. Move to trash. Now that is that. Now the next thing is this local. You could decide to run the task within the VS Code, and then the agent is going to iterate via the chat and work interactively to implement the change in this your current workspace. And there's an additional option of using Copilot CLI. What this does is it basically delegates the task to the background agent running locally on your computer. The agent is basically going to iterate via the chat and work asynchronously in your GitHub worktree. Now, to implement these changes from your main workspace using the GitHub Copilot CLI. The next one is Cloud. This option here is going to delegate the task to GitHub Copilot coding agent. And this is a cloud feature. And the agent is going to iterate via the chat and work asynchronously in the cloud to implement changes and pull requests as needed. This option is good, especially if you're working in a repository. So you can be working in the cloud without using your computer resource to implement some task. Now, also, you can also decide to delegate tasks to Cloud Agent SDK using the Cloud model included in your GitHub Copilot subscription. Now, speaking about subscription, GitHub Copilot tend to have its own tiers of subscription, and those tiers of subscriptions allow GitHub to be able to manage some of the model. Let's check it out. Now, to use it, it's very essential for you to be aware of the pricing model that are associated with the GitHub Copilot subscription. So let's search for GitHub Copilot model. GitHub Copilot. They have some interesting documentation around their plans. Okay, so here they have the free feature, they have the Pro, Pro Plus, and the Max. And these are the options that they have. You can see here it includes the Copilot CLI, access to ICO 4.5, GPT Mini, and more. Here, basically unlimited code completion, next suggest. It also have access to the cloud agent and code review. It have access to third-party agents, which is Cloud Code and Codex. Also, the model selection, and it is $15 monthly total credit for Pro. And you can also check this out. You can also get audit log 4 times the included plan in the usage than the Pro. $70 monthly total credit for the Pro. And we also have the Max, which is $100. So that is what you get to have for that. Now let's get back to this. In terms of setting up your environment, in this case, we're going to be selecting local. Default approval. Now this allows you to determine how you would like to give approval. Basically, default approval is going to, the Copilot uses your configured settings. Bypass approval, all tools are auto approved. Basically, don't ask me any question, just automatically approve yourself. Autonomously iterate from start to finish. This is autopilot. And this is in preview. So it auto approve all tools, calls, and continue until the task is done. This is more like a forever loop. Get the job done. Don't ask me any question. Just make sure you get the job done. That is basically what the autopilot does. But in this case, let's start with default approval. Now also down here, you can see something called select language mode. Here we're going to see auto detect. We won't be touching any of that. Also, if you want to see the credit, number of credit you've used, you've consumed, and this is very essential if you're cost conscious. You get to see that your number of credits is 27.2 over 200 credit use. That's basically that 30% used. Reset is going to reset in June, 30th of June around 8 p.m. Inline suggestion is 0% used. It's going to reset this particular time as well. Inline suggestion enabled. Code-based semantics index out of date. You want to update, if you click on this, it will get updated. Now let's click on this. It takes you to your settings where you can set up this. You can actually have a good, nice and visual representation of it. Now at the top here, if you want to create a new session. Now this goes back to the explanation earlier regarding session management. Every session, which is this, clean flow. To have a clean flow, it's better for you to have your context provided in a file, and then than compared to every new session. So this is a chat session. Having your agent understand the goal of the company or the goal of the products or the project is going to allow you to be able to get the job done because now it has more context. Now here at the top here, let's click on this plus. This plus is going to create a new chat window, new chat editor. The plus here is basically going to show you overview, your agent, all the agents you have. You see your CEO, code reviewer, marketing team, QA, research, software engineer. Basically going to show you all of that. And also the skill set that it has. You can also see the skill set here. Over time, we're going to build in more to the skill set. Then the instruction, the prompt, the hooks, the MCP servers, and also the plugins. Here, you can basically expand the section. You could also decide to hide the secondary sidebar. And at the top here is basically open in agent. This open the agent, and then here is the toggle. And these are basic VS Code functionality. Now let's go ahead and give an instruction to the CEO. You select this, or you could select the agent. If you select this agent, it will be using the default. But the CEO is what we would like to prompt. That shows the user info at the top. Plan it, implement it, review it, test it, and write an announcement. Let's see how this performs. So as you can see, I'm going to inspect the workspace to understand the app structure and identify where a top of the page user info view should be integrated before I plan it. Now the workspace is essentially empty. So I'm treating this as a small greenfield feature and scaffolding. A lightweight app that includes the request. As you can see, the CEO is able to say, okay, before he does anything or even start delegating, guess what? Is basically scanning the workspace. Here, as you can see, the model wants to edit sensitive file, which is package.json. Do you want to allow this? There are a couple of options. We could allow it once, which means it's going to prompt us again, or we could allow in this workspace. So any conversation in this workspace, or we could always allow. For now, let's say, you're the CEO, always allow. Let's see what it's going to do. Now, it's going to ask this question. Do you want to auto approve? Let's say enable auto approve. Now, remember, there's a difference between allow and auto approve. Allow means you can do that. Now, auto approved, let's enable auto approve. Enable auto approve. Now, this is very interesting because you have to see the warning. It says this will enable a configurable subset of commands to run in the terminal autonomously. It provides best effort protection and assume the agent is not acting maliciously. For now, let's enable that. As you can see, it's running this command. Let me open this section here. You can actually have a sneak peek of what is going on. You see, it ran npm test. Now, all this command is asking because there's a new command to it. There's a different command. Whenever it's going to do npm test, it's not going to ask us any command. Now, let's say allow all command in this session. We could also configure auto approve. But for now, let's allow all command in this chat session. If I click on plus, a new chat session is going to initiate, and it's going to also ask for approval. Now you see plan feature scope. Let's toggle this while this is working, while the CEO is doing its thing. So here you see plan feature scope. Once it's done with that, it's going to implement user ed UI. Once it's done with that, the review implementation is going to kick in. Once it's done with that, test and verify. Once it's done with that, the next thing will be draft announcement. Now you need to understand that this plan feature scope is going to be handled by the research agent. The implementation of the user header UI will be implemented by the software engineer, and the review implementation will be handled by the code reviewer agent. Test and verify by the QA engineer. The draft announcement will be handled by the marketing team. So that is how it is actually structured. So you need to be mindful of that. Now, who delegate the task will make that decision. The CEO makes the decision. Which is the CEO? That's the CEO agent. Now, as you can see, it's running the app. Everything is running automatically. As you see, it basically just created an entire app from scratch, which is this test app and this index.html. Updating to-do list. It is able to plan it, implement it, review the code, text, also test and verify, draft announcement. Now he also kills the terminal. I guess it's done. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to kill the terminal. Now you can also have a sneak peek of what is going on. Oops, it's done. As you can see, user identification header is now in place. A lightweight app shell was created in this workspace with a prominent top header showing the current user identity, name, email, and role. What changed? Added this year. Basically, this is what changed because nothing was here before. And then it's giving you an update that says, I added this UI, which is index.html, app.js, and this style. Added the test also, and it also wrote a plan, review, and announcement artifact. In the plan, this is the plan, review, this is the review, and this is the announcement that it's about to make. The verification says it actually ran test run Python unit testing. Oh, it also created unit testing. One test actually passed. The local server that was checked was this. Now let us test this implementation. Let instruct it to start up the application. Start the application you created. That was created. I'm not in Looker app now. Now it is running. Let us check the mobile app. It was able to create this app, as you can see, in our local environment. Say username, profile, Ada, Lovelace, ada@example.com, product engineer online. Welcome back. Your account details are shown at the top, so you can confirm you are signed in as the right person. User identity demo. This project was passed from the CEO. It was conceptualized, the research was done, and guess what? It was implemented, tested, an announcement was made while using the clean flow. Now let us check the files that were created in terms of the plan. Create a lightweight app. And this is the CEO and the research at this point. The CEO was able to pass the instruction to create a lightweight app that surfaces a clear user identity header, render the user profile information, add a simple automated testing to verify the header content, serve the page locally and verify the content over HTTP, write a short announcement for stakeholders. In terms of the review, let's also check it out as well. Now the review, this is the review of what was done. And this overall assessment. The implementation is straightforward and meets the requested behavior. The app now shows a clear user identity header at the top with usernames, email, and role. Findings: there was no blocking issue were pretty much identified. Now let's check out the announcement. Ideally, in this announcement, this is where the marketing team will go. It will be like, announcement, user identity header is now live. We've added a new user identity header to the top of the app. So you can instantly confirm which account is active while you work. The header shows the current user's name, email, and the role in clear. Prominent location. This update is now available in the current demo experience and provide a simple foundation for future authentication-driven personalization. Now, as you can see, you can safely and comfortably set up your agents, instruct them, passing the right instruction, give them the right tools, equip them with what they need, and hand it off to a master agent who will be delegating the task and getting the job done. Now, one thing you also need to understand is you also need to pay attention to the number of token that has been consumed, which is located at the bottom right here. If you click on it, you can see the context window in terms of number of token that has been consumed so far. And then also you can also see your system instruction, the percentage of it, the message, the files. You can also click on the compact conversation, and then you can see that. Now, one thing that is also interesting, let me stop this. One thing that is also interesting here is you could also do a breakpoint, which is if you're having a new functionality and you made a mistake, you can restore to the you can restore the workspace and the chart to a particular point in time. Think of it as a version control. Now you can also fork the conversation from this point as well, which means you can branch out from the conversation and create something in parallel along with your project. Now, another thing you could also do here is you can also add more feature or more functionality. Let's do that. Let's the CEO pass the instruction to the sub agent. See now it's planning, adding test of functionality. The induction layer is being integrated as a lightweight animated backdrop and a subtle card motion effect that responds to the pointer position in real time. Now, as you can see, it's running the test. The animation requirement is now captured as a failing test and is now implementing a visual interaction layer around that behavior. So he was able to test it, was able to capture the failure, and now he's implementing the visual interaction layer around that behavior. So as you can see here, he ran the test, failure 1, then he's going to fix it. And then as you can see here, he ran the test and everything passed. So now it has high confidence. Now this address is already in use. He's able to detect that and is going to fix it. Now let us test the implementation. Let's refresh. You can see this is the implementation here. Now you can also revert this change. Let's assume you made a mistake and you want to revert back in time. And another beautiful thing you can also see here is you can also see the model that actually implement this. Remember, this is auto, right? So your GitHub Copilot automatically detects a model and it uses the model. Here it uses MAI code 1 flash. If I wanted to use a different model, let's say this model here, create a nice beautiful animation on the page that should react when clicking a section of the page. Make it visible to click. Now this model is Claude. Now I'm going to use the Claude model that I selected in implementing this. Now this message, I'm the one passing it to the CEO. The CEO will be delegating the task and getting the job done. Tasks such as running the QA, doing code review, and also the marketing team and all the agents that need to be involved. Now it's implementing the click ripple animation system that creates a visual wave after you click. And you can also see what is happening, like basically the train of thought. It's like you're peeping through the train of thought. Good. I can see the app.js structure. Now let me add the click repo functionality. I will need to create a create repo function. Or all those beautiful conversation you have with your teammate. So you can see what it's thinking and you see thinking. Now let me just see. Yup, you can also peep towards the train of thought right here. So this is more like you chatting with your coworker and what your coworker is thinking and what is decided. You can also interject. Yeah, it's a perfect. I need to add the click ripple effect. You can see what it's trying to do. Good, perfect. I can do this. Good, I can see the style. Now, let me add the ripple style after the ambient glow section. Perfect. Now it's able to do that because it's perfect. Now let me run the test to verify that the click ripple animation has been properly implemented. Then you run it. It said, excellent. All tests are passing. Now let me reload the app in the browser so the user can see the click ripple animation in action. The server is still running in pod 8000, so I'll just need to refresh and that's it. All tests pass, the app is running. Refresh your browser to see the click ripple animation in action anywhere on the page to trigger the beautiful expanding ripple and that emanates from your cursor. Click ripple animation added. So let's check it out. Interesting. I'm back here. This is what we have here. Let me refresh. Oops. Let me click. Oh, I can see the ripple. You can see the ripple. Nice. Now I can see the ripple once you click. Now there's something called rollback. Let's assume we do not want this functionality. We want to go back to a point in time, right? Before this ripple was implemented. There's a way you can do that. Let me minimize this. You can actually do something called restore checkpoint. You see, it says that this will remove your last request and undo the edit made to the 4 files in your working set. Do you want to proceed? If you say yes, anything you've done after that section is going to remove it. If you say cancel, let's say you want to go back in time to a particular section. Let's click on this. Every single change, let's say yes. Once that is done, you see, that was before the ripple and that was before the animation glow. Now it is gone. The functionality is gone because I undo those changes. I restore back to this timeline. Think of it as you want to go back in time to a particular point because you made a mistake. That's a functionality that you can VS Code also provides. You could also redo. Oh, you made a mistake. This is not where you would like to go. You can also redo. I'm going to bring it back. Nice. Now let's refresh. Now it's back. You can also go back to a different time. Let's go back to a time where the click doesn't exist, just the glow. To do that, you scroll all the way to that section. I think it's this section here. Let's click on yes. Yay. Now this still exists. Let's refresh. Refresh done. Now I'm clicking, you see, nothing happens. Nothing. So let's redo. If you refresh, now it's back. So your agent, they can talk to each other. The CEO agent can interact with your code reviewer. It can interact with your marketing team. It can interact with your QA engineer. It can interact with your research engineer as well as your software engineer. So this is how you can create a super agent that can actually get the job done accurately. And when I mean accurately, I mean extreme with near to extreme accuracy. As you can see, this agent was able to create a test file. It was able to run tests. Oh, is this okay? Is this test, is it passing? Every single functionality that was added, every single feature that was added, it was able to check and make sure that the tests are passing for those additional functionality. The more functionality you are adding, the more features tests that it needs to also include. Now, when announcement needs to be made is going to also include announcement. All those decisions are being controlled by the CEO agent. Now, your CEO agent, if you wanted to actually make an announcement for every single new functionality, you can include it as part of the function responsibilities in the CEO agent. Like I said, treat your agentic file, which is your agent file name .md as a set of instructions that need to be passed. You could also check out this configuration, this instruction in human readable format. If you click on that, you can be like, okay, your name, you are the CEO, right? And your description, basically your JD, your job description is a master orchestrator agent used when planning, coordinating, or delegating complex tasks across engineering, QA, research, and marketing. Break down high-level goal and route work to this right sub-agent. And these are the tools that you're given. You're giving it near to almost, you're giving it all the asset it needs. And the model is going to be using by default is going to be this, and it's going to be delegating and also to other agents as well. You can increase the responsibility. You could also increase the approach. You could also specify the constraint and also the output format that your agent is going to need, will be using. So this is how we just created a user identity demo app. In the next section, we're going to be creating more application using our AI agent. The super agent will be creating a very impressive project, and it will be a project that you'll be able to deploy and you can safely boast and show on your resume if you're looking for a job. Now, as you can see, it's able to create it. Now, let us instruct it to put the application it creates into a specific file. It basically just creates it in the default workspace. Let's tell it to create a folder. Since it's a new project, it just assume that, oh, the workspace is the location that it needs to put the application code. Create a folder. Let's give it a name called Super App for the application. I'll move the code to the folder. I will create the super app folder and move all the application file there. You see, done. Now that is how you have a clean workspace. The agent was able to do all of that, and it's also going to ensure that everything is working the way it should. If it's not working, you can see if it's not working, it's going to fix it. Now let's refresh. You see the app is working the way it should. If I click on this, you know what? Let's beautify this. While that is working, update the app and make nice modern application, production ready and world class. QQQ from Airbnb app design. So let's instruct the agent to beautify the app. It says, I will transform the app into a modern production ready application with Airbnb inspired design principle, including refined typography, premium spacing, polished interaction, and a professional color palette. Now it says, I'm rebuilding this into a premium production ready application with Airbnb inspired design, clean typography, warm accent color, general spacing, and refined interaction. Now, it's very essential for you to understand that the agent will go with what it assumes needs to be done. If you are a design engineer or you are a team that specializes in graphics, you can also have a brand agent here. Now, in your brand agent, you can specify the color, you can specify your color spec, you can also specify the brand details there. So that way, the agent will know that, okay, I need to pick from this color, I need to pick from this design style, these are my design guide, this is the branding for the product, this is the company's mantra, and this is the tone that I should be using. You could also design You could also create a brand agent as well. But for this exercise, we want the agent to be creative. Now it's creating all the file that are needed. It's creating the JavaScript files that are needed as well. Now it's also adding a test case to make sure that the changes are not broken. As you can see, it broke. For run test failed. Now it's going to fix it in the code. Back to the code. It's going to fix it. I see the issue. They are duplicates. Now it's going to fix it. Now, basically, the CEO handed the task to the software engineer. The software engineer writes the code. When the software engineer writes the code reviewer reviews the code, and then the QA engineer basically just tests the app. By testing the app, it ensures that all the test cases are passing, and if it fails, he hands it up back to the software engineer to fix it. Now it's done. Now I'm curious. Let's see what our super agent built. All we need to do is let's refresh. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow. This is impressive. As you can see, the agent actually went from being in a cave mode experience to being a production ready super app experience. This is production ready. As you can see, the other lovelace that we saw earlier that was hiding in one section, now it's actually on your face and it looks sleek. It looks really nice. It also improved the mouse tracking experience. It also improved the clicking experience. And as you can see, it's called Super App. The profile here is also showing. Welcome back, Ada. Product engineer. This is Ada's email. Guess what? Ada is online. View profile. Your seamless experience awaits. If you click, you can see what's new. Discover what makes Super App special. Beautiful design, crafted with precision and a care for intuitive space. You see, now our agent now is being intuitive, creating nice statement. If you also check, you can also see it also had 2026 Super App design with excellence, which is a standard thing that most platform tend to have. Now, this is a production ready world-class application. Guess what? We're also going to be building on this as well. Now, let's see if we can add a dark mode or a light mode. Now let's go. Nice. Implement ability for a light and dark mode. Or let's give it set of instruction. Also add privacy policy. Make the view profile clickable. And show information about the user. Be creative with the click animated effect. Now, what we're having here is implement ability for a light and dark mode. Also add privacy policy. Make the view profile clickable and show information about the user. Be creative with the click animated effect. Now, this is a way to test the creativity of our agent. Now, that is the CEO. This is what the CEO wants. In this case, it is you passing information to the CEO. The CEO will delegate the task to the software engineer. And also the research engineer could also decide to do a research. Could also decide to do a research. As you can see here, we have a credit at 53%. Upgrade to continue past the limit. You could decide to upgrade, but for this, let's just continue. Now, back to what I was saying. The research engineer agent could decide to do the research, also give it back to the software engineer to implement. Now, once that is done, it's going to hand it off back to the code reviewer to review the code. Now, let's see what it's going to come up with. Super Agent is actually building a world-class production-ready application. While that is happening in the background, let's just click around. Let's see what's happening here. Now in the styling, it needs to edit the style. It's also editing the style. Now I need to update JavaScript to handle one, the theme, ability to switch between dark mode and light mode. Let me open the Super Hub. I'm going to minimize the agent. Now you can also click on this to actually see the files that are being changed. Here you can see 4 files changed. 1,000 and 1,166 lines of code were added and 139 lines of code were removed. You could decide to keep it, you could decide to undo. You could also decide to view all the edits, or you could view individual edit file here, as you can see. You can also decide to view it. You can decide to keep a section. You could decide to remove it as well. Now, as you can see, it's saying that, okay, this functionality is done. It also increases the test case. Remember, we started with 1 test case to 2 to 3 to 4. Now we have 6 different test cases that was written by the QA agent, and it's saying that they are all passing. And what are the test cases that are passing? User identity header, cursor reactive animation, creative click animation, modern design, team toggle, modern system implementation. So these are the test cases, which simply means the software engineer was able to implement the change, the QA engineer was able to implement test cases, and the code reviewer was able to implement review the code as well. Now let's refresh. Oh, interesting. Wow. Our agent is indeed creative. If I click on view profile, oh, now you can see the profile. Let me close it. You need to improve on that. Now let me switch to start dark mode. Oh, okay. Also, the animation also changes as well. Privacy policy. Now we have a privacy policy here. You can also decide to close it. Now you need to communicate this as well. Interesting. Now this is how a super agent. Let's keep all the changes. This is how a super agent build a world-class production-ready application, or should I call it software, once it has properly packaged and styled. Now, what you can also do here is you can also familiarize yourself with the application. You can also review the test cases that were written by the application, as you can see. And there was unit testing that was done. And this is where the app is running. If you try clicking the link, you're going to see the application show up. It also tells you how creative it was, the creativity it's implemented. And the privacy policy, you can also see that information here. Here is basically giving you a summary of what was done. Now, this is how you create a clean flow of an agent by taking advantage of your own requirement. You're passing it to an agent. The agent, in this case, they acted as a contractor who handles your request, and they are also a specialist. And the specialist in this case that we created were the research engineer specialist, the software engineer specialist, the code reviewer specialist, the QA engineer specialist, the marketing engineer specialist, and then you are passing information to the CEO in implementing all this requests. And our super agent, we're able to create a very nice, beautiful application. And the way we structure it is by passing information, by giving it a brain, and also passing an instruction to it. Where in terms of the brain, we give it a name, a description, tools that your agent needs to do, and the instruction that goes into it. Now, this is very essential if you are setting up your super agent. Now, why is it essential? It's essential because a weak description will give you a weak output. So, for example, if you just mention that, oh, this is a QA engineer. As a QA engineer, what is he supposed to do? Does he have any context? So you need to be able to specify a very strong description. An example of that is use when writing test plan, generating test cases, validating functionality, identifying edge cases. So these are the things that need to be set up so that you can have a very strong, description. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to specify the configurations of your agents in the file, properly setting up the brains and the instruction.